Okay, this is Reefer James, and we're back down here with the scrubbers. Algae turf scrubbers. Best thing that ever hit reefing, in my opinion. Everything's going good. Tanks are reading 0 phosphates, 0 nitrates. And as I've mentioned in the past, there's a little phosphate and there's a tiny bit of nitrate. This scrubber is doing well, but I have some algae in the display tank, so it's reading 0 for phosphates, but I'm thinking it's above 0.03, so heavy feeding, no doubt. I've got the lights off on the display tanks. All the tanks, the lights are going to be off for about a week. Just want to make sure. The trigger tank's doing well, but I'm going to keep those lights off too for a while. And get control of the algae out of the tank first. The display tank, actually. Everything else is doing well. The trigger scrubber, this is the new one I bought, guys, and it's doing well. Tonight I made a new spray bar. Since it's such a terribly long run through the wall and over to the far corner to the trigger tank, where this scrubber just goes through the wall and right to the sump of the display tank, so it's a real short run. So I never had an issue with the pump pressure. But the trigger scrubber here, I had about 24 inches, 12-inch screens each a piece, and I would clean them all, alternatively. Clean one, let the other grow for a week, clean the other one, let the other one grow. But the water was only reaching about 13 inches across the spray bar. So I made a new spray bar, and the slot for the screens is about 14 inches now. Just where the pump couldn't pump no more than 14 inches across. So I made a new spray bar. Approximately the slot cut on it on the table saw is about 14 inches wide. These screens are a lot smaller. They're 7 inches wide a piece, but they're long. They're longer than these over here, actually, by a few inches. So hopefully I didn't lose too much, but the first screen was starting to seed, so I put that one in line first, so the water's going this way. So it won't be just for a few days. The screens will start turning green again. But as you can see, I've got a lot of luscious bright green algae in the bottom of the trough, which keeps the scrubber performing by keeping the nitrates and phosphates at 0 or undetectable levels. I just cleaned this pan last week. It was bare white, and it's already grown back in a week like this. So now with scrubbers, you have to feed your fish tanks. The scrubbers have to have those nutrients, the phosphate from leftover food and fish waste, to grow the algae over here. But you don't want too much waste in the tank. So I don't know what it is with the display tank with the corn and the sailfin. I just have some turf algae coming back on the bottom. So I've minus the lights. I've cut down the light hours drastically, but something else is going on. I think maybe there's phosphates leaching out of my live rock. I don't know. I could probably use more water changes is what I'm thinking. So I'm gonna go that direction. Other than that, the scrubbers are doing what they're supposed to do. This one's got reddish lights, ultraviolet lights more. You can't see the green algae as much. These are 2700K lights, so you're going to see the bright green. This one's got real dark green algae on the screen. But it also has algae growing in the bottom. And I cleaned this one a few weeks ago too, the bottom trough, maybe 2 weeks ago. it's already grown back in full force. So they're working really well. I'm very pleased. Now that I have two 7-inch screens and only a 14-inch slot on this one, the water's going all the way across and coating all the screen area, not just 13 inches out of 24. I've got 14 inches being covered totally with water. So I have more pump pressure because the slot's shorter. I was also able to turn down my variable speed pump for this sump, for this scrubber tank, I should say. I was able to turn the power down, so I didn't need as much power, and I'm still covering the screen, so I did good. So hopefully I won't have to make no more changes to this. This will probably be the last change. I'm real happy with the results so far now. It's just a matter of time watching the trigger tank. As you recall, the trigger tank was the one that was having the algae issue. I wasn't really having any algae issues in the display tank. Now everything is reversed. Now the trigger tank's doing phenomenal. Not a speck of algae in it, which tells me the scrubber's working great. And the display tank is growing algae now in the tank. I've probably done more water changes in the trigger tank than I have the display. The display tank, I'm kind of lazy. I'm kind of just haven't done as much water change on the display tank, I suppose, as I have done on the trigger tank. But I don't really have the exact facts or figures. I don't mark down. I should be marking down on the calendar when I do water changes. Lately, all I've been doing is doing like 5 gallons at a time and just siphoning and cleaning the trough up on the bottom, siphoning all the detritus on the bottom that collects of the scrubber pans, and then replacing the water. Actually, I do mix up about 30 gallons, and I'll drain the trough empty with a siphon tube and clean the bottom entirely, and then pour 30 gallons of water back into this trough when I'm done, and restart it. So when I'm cleaning the sumps that are underneath the tanks now, they had a lot of they call it precipitation when the calcium builds up over time on heat related items like the pumps and the heaters. It gets calcified, and then it gets flakes of hard calcium rock that break off and collect down in the bottom of the sump. So I use the shop vac that you see there, and I'll suck up whatever corner of the sump, whichever chamber has the most rubble. And usually, so the shop vac is about 5 gallons, so I have my 5-gallon pail here that I mix up and replace it as soon as I suck out all the rock. Calcified rock. It's from precipitation, they call it. Is when the calcium precipitates. Usually you'll see it on the heaters and the pumps. The impellers will get calcified because of the heat. The heat of the heaters and any heat related device in your tank. With marine tanks, you're going to get a calcification buildup, which is called precipitation. Doing well. I just got it running. I made the spray bar this morning. This will be the last spray bar. So I figured, once I had this scrubber pan going, it's been going for a few months now, that there would be some changes down the road, especially when I saw that I didn't have enough pump power to I have enough pump power. Here's the deal. Now I have enough power to go 24 inches to shoot that water across. The problem is that I don't have a big enough pipe going back to the sump to keep the sump level underneath the tank. That's the main problem. So I have a 3/4 delivering all the way up to the scrubber, and then I have it reduced down to 1/2-inch spray bar. Now the drain going back to the sump is 1 inch all the way, but it's still not enough. So I'm pumping more than what's draining back quick. It's not draining back quickly enough because I only have a 1-inch drain. Perhaps if I had 2 pipes going back to the sump, then I could speed up. I could have sped up the last spray bar with the pump more, and probably could have got my 24-inch spread of water. But trial and error. So I mean, I think I've got it now, and just like that song, I think I got it now. Van Halen. Is that Van Halen? I think I got it now. Da, 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 beautiful girls. Yeah, okay. Alright. It's time to go to bed. It's late. My mind's drifting. And I got David Lee Roth lyrics on my mind. That's when you know it's time to go to bed. Alright, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Take care. Enjoy the weekend that's coming up. The weather's getting warmer. I'm stoked. My Jeep is polished, and everything's going okay. Take care. God bless. Let it roll.